Hi, it's Charlie from Charlie Reads and Reviews, and I'm late, and I've recorded this several times, but let's get going. To save me on editing, I've decided just to share my screen, and yeah, sorry that I'm starting in such a random spot, but let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. So, last time we were here, I'll show you actually, let me just show you that. Let's start with that. This is where I was in terms of the hardest reading challenge you'll ever read. You'll ever do. This is a challenge that was started out by Stephanie from QWordy. Do check out her channel for all the rules and everything, or my first video on this, and as well as Sarah from Freshly, I think it's Freshly Read Books, who actually created this template that I'm using, but I have just changed the coloring more to, I like pink and purples, so I've changed that, but the general thing was created by her, and then I made adjustments to it because she basically has combined HYRCED 1.0 and HYRCED 2.0, because she found out about HYRCED 1.0 near the tail end of it, and then HYRCED 2.0 came about and she decided to combine them, so she's doing it over 18 months. I only started HYRCED 2.0 on the 1st of November, so I was behind by a few months and technically failed because there is one prompt that I needed to be very strict with that I failed just by virtue of starting on the 1st of November, and that is to read a new release within 90 days of its publication date. So if there's a book that was published sometime in July, it means that sometime in August, basically by the end of August, I should have been done with July reads and September for August and October for September. So by starting on the 1st of November, I had failed by those 3 months. However, having said that, I still wanted to participate in this. I'm not going to submit it to QWordy's submission template because I've technically failed, but I still think it's a cool way for me to challenge myself in what I read. And so if you look at my previous video, you'll see how I managed to take all the books that I read and complete between 7th of July and the 31st of October towards this challenge. Today, we're now looking at where am I in terms of November. So this is actually updated per November. On this sheet, this is the sheet that you get from QWordy, from Stephanie. These colors change when you've finished a prompt. So it goes green. I finished only one as at the end of October, and nothing else here. The purple ones, I think, can I remember what it is? I think they're purple because they're customizable. Yeah, I think they're customizable. That's why they're purple. So like award season, you can choose which award season you want to be. TBR challenge, you can choose. I've also made some changes, and we'll see them as we go along. So for, let's just make this a little bit bigger. For November, I read and completed 8 books. Of these 8 books, they contributed to 15 prompts. One book, which is The Seep by Shayna Porter, it was not the book I thought it was. So I went in there thinking it was a book by a BIPOC author, so it definitely would have counted to BIPOC if nothing else. But it didn't because it wasn't the right book. And so it's counted for 1 prompt instead of 2. Maybe later on, if I move stuff around, I could potentially count it for something else, but for now it's just counting for 1, which I'm okay with. So we've got 15 prompts completed. Let's see what that has done for me. Just high level, you can see where they've counted towards. It's to BIPOC, by the hundreds, queer alphabet, make a quote, even bigger rainbow, new release. Yay, I'm catching up on that one. That's the one that failed me. Translations, animals, something that I didn't have anything for before, and lost 10 years. Okay, so by the hundreds, originally I only had 2 in here, and now I have 4. What a Catch by Mimi Grace is a romance book. It was entertaining and I enjoyed it, but I'm not really a romance girly, and I gave it 3.75 stars. And so this one, I put it to by the hundreds as well as BIPOC author. And then for the second book for By the Hundreds was The Will of Many by James Islington, and this is a speculative fiction book which reads like an epic fantasy. And I listened to it, but if you, according to the story graph, the equivalent pages was over 600. So by the hundreds means that you're reading books that are, for 100 would be between 100 and 199. 200 is between 200 and 299, and so forth. So I am taking up these big ones with fantasy books where I can, because these will be my biggest challenges. This 300, I think in December, I've already covered this one, and I'm potentially going to cover this one when I finish this one book that I'm currently listening to. Right, 24-hour readathon is one that I'm going to be participating in December, so nothing moved. The one thing I want to highlight here, that I don't know why I had 0 on this. I had forgotten to put Ikenga in. This is one of the books that I read and finished in August, I believe. And I think I wanted a lot of these books to be fantasy, and it is fantasy, and it's a solo book. It's not a series, so that's why I put it in here. But I had forgotten to add it, so it's nice to have something on here. I've not touched anything here, and I'm not going to touch anything in here in December. So this is a worrying tab for me. Award season, nothing has moved here, but I am aiming on finishing, if not all 4, at least 3 of these in December, so we can get a move on that. And then for TBR challenge, I've changed it. This originally I had used, I've forgotten, someone else's challenge from here. Can't remember who it was. And it was like 12 books, and I just had to spin and read them. And because I don't have 12 months, I only have 6 months, I was basically going to read one of those prompts, or 2 of those prompts a month to get to it. But instead, I am participating in a TBR-a-thon. I came across this on BookTube, and I like it. So they have 3 options. They have just do it over the first weekend of January, which is what I'm participating in. They have do it for the month of January. I potentially could participate in it or not, but I'm not putting that pressure on myself. So I've signed up for just the weekend, and then they have a full year version of it. And ultimately, it's just to read your physical TBR, which is what this is about. And I will be participating with that in the first weekend of January. So I might do my first vlog. I'm not really good with this type of stuff, but I might do my first vlog on that day. So watch this space. Right, then the last 10 years, what has moved here? I've added 2025, The Scammer. This is by Tiffany D. Jackson. It was a book that I read specifically for new releases. It came out in October, and it is a new adult mystery inspired by real life events that happened at a college where a cult was founded in a college university. I found it boring at times, but I did like the twist at the end, and so I ended up rating it 4 stars. That's the only thing that has moved here. Everything else was here before. Am I worried about this? Not right now. Some of the books that I'm catching up on could fill in here, and then I just have to be intentional, I think, with 2016 to 2018. So we'll see how that goes. Adaptations, nothing has moved here. Am I worried here? I am not worried about graphic novel, web series, and animation. I need to find a play, so I'm not too worried about that one, as well as movie. I think it's musical that probably is worrying me the most, but I have an idea of them. I don't know if I've written them all down. This one is going to be The Color Purple. Sorry that I'm doing this right now, but I might forget. Play, I don't know yet. Web series, actually no, web series I have no idea. So I need play and web series, and I'm probably going to do Frankenstein or the Thursday Murder Club for this one. Disability challenge, nothing has moved, but something has moved in December. So, I made a mistake with my, but you'll see it anyways. I'm actually still on 3 out of 5, but right now it's at this date, which is the 16th of December. I am at 4 out of 5, which I'm very excited about. And then heritage, nothing has moved. Translation challenge, we're now at 4 out of 5 here, and I'm currently reading the 5th book that's going to come in here. So I feel like this one is going to be done by the end of December, which is really cool to see some movement on this. So the book that I added here was Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Sadawi. I would have loved for this to have counted, but I think this book was published in, was it 2003 or 2013? But it's set in early 90s Iraq, and it's like an exploration or a critique of the different leaders within Iraq who've caused a lot of chaos and the impact that it's had on the average person who lives in Iraq, specifically around this neighborhood. Really, really, really enjoyable read. Around the world, nothing has changed right now, but something will change here for Europe. Actually, something has changed for Europe. I just haven't added it because I wanted this to be just about November, but something has changed already for Europe. The even bigger Rainbow Challenge. So what changed here is that I read Finley Donovan is Killing It. I read this for Make a Quote. Yay, I found something. This was the one that I was struggling with, was finding something for it. And I went on to Audible and I just put the word it in and a bunch of books came out. And then I saw Finley Donovan is Killing It, which I absolutely loved. It was hilarious. It was funny. And I may pick up the rest of the series, especially because I hear there's another book coming out in this series. But there's a lot. There's a lot in the series. I think there's like 6 books, or maybe 5 more books that I'd have to read to catch up to that one. And they're easy and they're fun. So it's not a no, but it's not a priority for me. So I put Finley Donovan is Killing It here as pink. Originally I had After Parties, and then I moved After Parties to the even bigger, oh, I think, is it the even bigger? No, this is the even bigger, to the queer alphabet. Then Make a Quote, I finally have one in there out of the 7, and that's Finley Donovan is Killing It, which is really funny because it was the one that I was struggling to find, and I've not touched anything else here. All That We See or Seem, I purchased this one for a new release for October, or no, was it October or November? One or the other. But I've actually completed those 2 prompts already, so I'm not prioritizing it. But it is a book by Ken Liu that I really do want to read at some point in time. But I'm needing to read the Dandelion Dynasty, which are huge. So I'm prioritizing those first. Once those are done, then I will pick this one up. And then I want to read The Paper Menagerie. I've just owned so many of his books and I haven't read them. And so this is my year to kind of finish them up. Then for Spooky Creatures, we've closed something here. There was Cursed Daughters by Oyinkan Braithwaite, and that is for a ghost or spirit. And that takes me to just needing 2 more to finish, Merfolk and Vampires. And I own or have booked books already for this, so I'm not too worried about it. I just have to be intentional with reading those books. Cursed Daughters is Oyinkan Braithwaite's second or a sophomore novel. She's written a short story that I listened to as well that I enjoyed, but I absolutely could not put this down. I did give it 4.75 stars because there were some aspects of like how the story concluded that I didn't enjoy, but overall I could not put this book down and I loved it. And yeah, put it down for Spooky Creatures. And then Become the Avatar. Nothing has changed here with the exception of thank you to the person who helped me become aware of what is the difference between these 2. So the top one would be you would choose the cover image. So you're only going to be covering cover images for the words or the elements. And the bottom one, or I've chosen to make it the bottom one, word in the title. And so I might decide to like push myself out of my limit or, and say do both. But right now I'm prioritizing, let me just actually make these all cover images. I'm prioritizing cover images, and I have 2 books. They're both actually one is here and one is in Uganda, and to cover them. And then I've got ideas for the bottom ones with word in the title. This is here. This is here in storage somewhere, and then these 2 are in Uganda. So we'll see how it goes. But priorities to finish these 2 at the top to say it's done, and then I might push myself to finish these 4, but only I think when I finish some of the harder challenges. And then the readathon challenge, I've changed something here. Originally I had chosen someone's TBR, and now originally here I'd said I was going to do Toni Morrison, and I wanted to, but then I felt very intimidated by it because what if I fail? And it's 12 books in 6 months. It just felt like a lot of stress. And I don't want to be stressed in this. Like, it's the only way I'm going to finish this. So what I'm deciding to do is there are 2 challenges that I'm going to fail this year. And that's Read Caribbean. For some strange reason, I said I was going to read 20 books by a Caribbean author. Last year, it was 12. I failed by 2, I got to 10 instead of 12. And this year, I stupidly said 20. So right now I'm at 15 out of 20. I don't think I'm going to get to 20 out of 20 if I'm really honest with myself. I added Read Latine and I got to 6 out of 12. I know I'm not going to get to 12 out of 12. And it's just because I dropped the ball on these two, because I was at, I think, about 12 by the end of June out of 20 for Read Caribbean and 6 out of 12 for Read Latine. It was really on me not intentionally reading these books. So I am going to, I think it was 5 out of 12 for Read Latine. So I'm going to be very intentional next year, and I think it would be cool to put this down as my readathon challenge, to then say that I'm still going to go for 20 for Read Caribbean, because I got to 15 and I kind of just dropped the ball on my own. I know that I could get to 20, and for Read Latine, because I only got a 6, I feel like 12 is still a good enough challenge for me to stick to. So by the mid time of the year, I want to be at 8 for Latine and 15 for Read Caribbean, and then hopefully I will be motivated to complete the remaining 4 and 5 respectively for the 2 challenges before the end of the year. And then animals, I can put 2 in here, and so Will of the Many, which I've already spoken about, comes in here. There is I've just said wolf because I can't remember the name of the type of animal the name that they call it, but it's described like some kind of like a dire wolf. So I've put that in there. It is a wild animal that seems to have been domesticated to an extent, and hence I'm calling it an exotic pet. Please let me know if you don't feel that counts, because it's a speculative fiction book. And then for wild animals in Blood in the Water, a shark is mentioned, and so I put it in there for that. So it's nice to have that down. I have no idea what I'm going to do for house pets, for farm animals and zoo. Actually, house pets, I could read a book about a cat. I've got a book about what if all the cats, what happened to the world if all the cats disappeared, or something like that, in Uganda. And it's a short book, so I might read that for that. So that's, I'm not worried about. But farm animals and zoo animals, I am, because I read The Life of Pi already, and I have read Animal Farm already, and I'm not really inspired to read Black Beauty. So if anyone has any suggestions here, please do let me know. Oh, here I've got Dungeon Crawler Call actually is also one, and If Cats Disappeared from the World is another one. I've got Remarkably Strange Creatures here, if people feel like I shouldn't be using books from a speculative fiction fancy, but I don't know if this is talking about pets or just talking about octopuses, so we'll see. I should say octopi. And then for Queer Alphabet, only thing that changed here, 2 things changed here. So I brought After Parties because I took the pink, I put Finlay Donovan there, and I brought it here to cover the block for gay. And then I read this book, The Seep by Shayna Porter. I thought it was a very different book that was written by a South Asian American author, a Desi author, and it wasn't the book. And I don't know what that book is, so I don't know if I'm ever going to read that book, but it did have transgender representation, so at least it wasn't a complete train smash for me. It was a dystopian, utopian book set in our world if we were to interact with this all-consuming microbiome system known as the seep, that basically creates or balances everything and removes imbalances from the world. But it brings up all these questions around what does it mean to be human without freedom of choice. I enjoyed it, but I did feel like aspects of it were a bit rushed, and so I think I gave it like a 3.75 stars. So that counted for that and only that. And then favorite HYRCED Nothing BIPOC challenge, we've added 2 here, and that's What a Match and Frankenstein in Baghdad. So now I've just got 4. I could easily have finished this prompt by now with all the books that I've read so far, but I'm leaving this one because I feel like this is one of the easier prompts for me to finish. For last, I really want to finish the harder ones. And then new releases. New releases, the one that I failed on. I'm catching up. I've got 3 now out of, I should be at 6, because now we're in December. Okay, no, by November. 3 out of 5. So I'm behind by 2 at this point, well, as at the end of November. For August and September, I have Catabases. I just need to actually pick it up. It's just that size intimidates me. But I am planning on reading it because I really want to read it. And then I think the thing that irritates me is that I bought the book in September, but I wasn't doing HYRCED. And if I was doing HYRCED in September, I would have read Catabases in September and been done with it. And then Sisters in the Wind, I don't know what this book is. I don't know why I put it there. I don't know why I didn't put the person's name there. But I feel like I'm going to find a different book for this. And then I've got a bunch of books I've identified thanks to all the videos that people have been making on BookTube. Thank you so much. I've already purchased An Arcane Inheritance by Camilla Cole, which arrives on my Kindle on 31st of December. So planning to read that one in January. I have no choice but to finish it in January. So that's a priority for me in Jan. So that's what's going to come in here. And even though I've got Heartstopper here, I haven't bought it. I don't know if it'll be an essay by the time I get back, etc. And then I've just put some books down here that I thought were interesting, but I realize now I haven't got anything from Feb yet. I like Phases by Brandy. I really, really want to read this one, but I have nothing for Feb yet, so I need to look for that. Challenge Yourself is for me to complete 10 series that I have already started. And I think the easiest one for me to finish would be Beast Made of Night. I know that there's a couple of them with ones, so you'd think that Raybearer would be easy as well, but I don't know where the book is, so I need to find it. And then Greenbone Saga, I know where the book is, but it's so big. It's very intimidating. So we'll see. This challenge might be the challenge that fails me, if I'm really honest. Non-fiction, nothing been added here, but similarly to BIPOC, I'm reading non-fiction all the time, except in November. I read no non-fiction, so that's why nothing has moved here. But I actually am not reading any non-fiction at the moment, but I plan on reading a bunch of non-fiction soon for the award prize, so they could easily, besides going towards the award prize and maybe some translation or some other things, I might just put them in here as well. So I'm not worried about that one at all. Q's review, nothing has moved here. I own both of these books, but I have not picked them up just because of their size. And yeah, that's where I'm at in terms of HYRCED. And so my updated image, this is where I'm at. You can see the purple ones are all the blocks that I have changed, and nothing is this, I don't know what color you would say, this dark pink. I'm just going to say dark pink. I know there's a better color for it, but I can't say it. I don't know what it is. Nothing is complete yet, but I feel very, very, very positive that by the end of December, I will have 2 or more blocks completed, and it'll be really nice to see. I am excited to see if any of you have decided to participate in HYRCED, if any of you have any suggestions for me or any corrections for me around anything that I've been doing. Happy, what day is it? Tuesday.